Bob Arum strikes again. Boy, I tell you. I'm one of the 10 people in the world who thought that you could have argued that Timothy Bradley won the fight with Manny Pacquiao some years ago. And the reason I said that was the same reason that I thought you could argue that Paulie Malignaggi could have won against Broner. Broner landed a couple of big shots, maybe one or two big shots in a round, but the other 2 minutes and 45 seconds of the round, Paulie would outwork him. Well, Manny would land some good shots on Bradley, but for the other 2 minutes of the round, Bradley was landing. And in some of those rounds, not all of them, some of them Bradley outworked Manny. The point I'm trying to make is, as long as Timothy Bradley would have stayed on his feet at the end of the 12th round, I think that by design, whether he truly won or lost, they were going to give him the victory. This is when Manny kind of went on a religious tip, and he was doing some things that upset Bob Arum. And Bob Arum wants to be in control. I mean, it's like all promoters. And Manny was talking about God, 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 and I'm a Christian now. And Bob Arum had to send a message to Manny Pacquiao. And when that fight ended, Bob Arum let Manny Pacquiao know, I am your God, and don't you ever forget it. Now, you don't have to believe that story or not. I mean, you can believe that story, or you don't have to. However, I truly think Bob Arum was up to something tonight, and I think he might have been in on it. Manny Pacquiao won the fight against Jeff Horn. Manny Pacquiao landed 33% of his punches. Total punches, 32% to 15% for Jeff Horn. He landed 90 more total punches than Jeff Horn. Manny landed 59 of 193 jabs for 31% to Horn's 19 out of 197 for 10%. Manny's not even a jab dude, man. He kind of throws the double jab out sometimes, but he's not throwing it to back you up, so to speak. Well, I mean, the jab thing wasn't even close. The total punches landed wasn't even close. The percentage of total punches, astronomical difference. And let's get to the power punches. Jeff Horn landed 73 of 428 for 17%. Manny Pacquiao, 123 out of 380 for 32%. You don't lose fights with those type numbers. And just dubious decisions once again for boxing. Back-to-back nights. The bounce card had two bad decisions. One horrible decision. And then another decision where the fight was close, but you saw two scorecards, 120 to 108. So two bad decisions on Friday night. Horrible decision in Australia on Saturday night. Two judges had Jeff Horn by 2 points. The third judge, though, this Waleska Roldan, I mean, good Lord. Whoever Waleska Roldan is, they need to join the other two judges who gave Robert Easter Jr. scores of 120 to 108. run some tests on them, make sure they don't go to the loony bin, but then their license, they shouldn't be suspended. Their licenses should be revoked. They should be terminated, not to cover the sport of boxing again. Waleska Roldan, 9 rounds to 3 for Jeff Horn, 117-111. Listen, the 9th round, Manny Pacquiao won a 10-8 round, which was the 9th round, okay, and still lost the fight. And you're telling me you're giving Horn the win by 2 points in a fight where Manny had a 10-8 round late in the fight, and the 117-111 with the 2-point 9th round. I mean, come on. You gotta be kidding me. In other words, you're looking at what, 118, 110? Waleska Roldan, I'm not going to even talk about the other 2 judges. Waleska Roldan scored Chocolatito versus Rungvisai. Chocolatito's last fight, a draw, which it wasn't. Waleska Roldan also scored that Marcus Brown fight by 2 points over what was his name? Radivoja? Kolidage. The guy Kolidage, that's his name. Radivoja. I'm not sure how you just say the first name, but Kolidage. Waleska Roldan also had Deontay Wilder up by 4 points over Artur Spilka before Wilder landed that money shot and got him out of there. 4 points. I mean, so you the problem with boxing is this: you have to determine what judges are corrupt and what judges are inept, and what judges are in the take or on the take, and you got to watch their bank accounts. The lady who scored that Lennox Lewis versus Evander Holyfield fight a draw, when they checked her bank account, there was like what was it, 30,000, 50,000, something 5-figure deposit shortly after that fight. Did they do anything to her? Absolutely not. So I mean, if you're going to give us those type of details, follow up and so get them out of there. What I challenge all my YouTube listeners to do in the future, what I challenge all of boxing to do that listens to this, and for those who don't listen to it, if you're listening to me now, spread the word and tell them. Check the history of the judges out when big fights are announced, and then they announce who the judges are. Check it out. Check out, and you can kind of, I tell you what, the gamblers, the people who put money down on fights, I tell you what, that's one of the questions they ask. They find out who the judges are. If it's Dave 116, 112 Moretti, then, well, you know what you're working with. And now, if it's Waleska Roldan, you know what you're working with. So there'll be no surprises. And then when you study that, when you study those trends and what have you, you realize, people will realize how smart you are. You're like, wow, how'd you know this was going to happen? You don't tell them. Just say, hey, I know the sport. Because in all actuality, you do when you study these officials. So I'll stop short of saying corrupt and say maybe some of them are inept. They just don't know what they're doing. As far as the fight itself, I mean, Jeff Horn, he did what he needed to do to survive, which is he fought valiantly. He fought dirty. I mean, he brought it. And once again, I'll go back to these dirty fighters. If the referee is not going to... The referee was on the hook for two reasons. Not the main reason. I'll tell you the main reason in a second. But if he's not going to... I'm talking about the elbows, the headlocks, the forearms, the headbutts. I mean, my man brought everything to the table as far as fighting dirty, and everything except the low blows. Aaron Rodgers chimed in, boxing is a joke, and it proves it tonight. 117, 111 on one card. What fight was that that they were watching? Bradley Jinx, and then he put # MMA #, and that's where boxing is going to turn away some more people. The fight was exciting. That's the good thing. The fight was exciting. Manny, I don't think people realize how incredible Manny Pacquiao is until they see him in person and see how small he is. I mean, TV even makes you look bigger, but I mean, he's a tiny guy. For him to come to those 10 weight classes or whatever it is, man, and to do the things that he's done at that size. I mean, Horn was towering over Manny, and he had a reach, and he had an awkward style. I mean, not quite as bad as Sam Solomon, but I mean, almost as awkward. And he had that reach, and Manny kind of had a little trouble getting inside. And then when he figured him out, it seemed like only a matter of time. But the referee didn't warn. I mean, he let a lot of stuff go. And once again, you have a case of another fighter from another country where Manny's always been into the glove tap, and when there was a foul, whether it's on purpose or accident, they'll kind of break up, and Manny will do that BS Shane Mosley glove tapping. And speaking of Shane Mosley, his son is terrible. But the glove tapping and what have you, I mean, nah. Fight fire with fire. You don't want to tell guys. You want, for people who are pure boxing fans, you don't want to tell other guys to do that. But if a guy's going to continuously forearm you and headlock you and hit you low and do whatever, you got to do some of the same. And the referee's not issuing the warning, you got to do some of the same stuff. You got to retaliate. The message has been sent in boxing, at least in 2017. So don't be shocked if you see some of that go on in the Mikey Garcia Adrian Broner fight. I just got a feeling you're going to see that. Anyway, the referee, just like Tony Weeks, just like Vic Draculich, the referee was on the hook for this, and I wish somebody would have, once again, I wish somebody would have pulled him up immediately after the fight before he had time to think. After the 9th round, where Horn was a bloody mess, and that was your 10-8 round, referee walked over and said, "I'm here for the safety of the fighters. I'm going to stop this fight." And he let the corner talk him out of it. And Horn came out. And trust me. Trust me when I tell you. I can't prove this. I'll go to my grave not being able to prove this. But Jeff Horn's corner knew what the scores were at that time when they argued. They knew it was either even, or he was up by 1 or 2, or down by 1 at that point in the 9th. But they knew what the scores were, and they knew that if he could survive, he would win. Speaking of survival, as little as Stephen A. Smith, Screaming A. Smith, as little as Screaming A. Smith knows about boxing, he had a pretty good, pretty lengthy post-fight discussion, which I like. I love this. I hope ESPN and ABC does this. That they do this. Well, same network, ESPN/ABC does this for all the fights. I mean, it's up to an hour after the fight, and they're still talking, and they're showing the replay of the card on ESPN too, as I'm speaking. But they're still talking. They talked to Timothy Bradley Jr. They talked to Theodore Teddy Atlas, and they've talked amongst themselves. And one of the things that Levy and Screaming A. Smith were talking about is maybe having open scoring, and Screaming A. Smith is like, hey, I love that idea. Then the guys can know. I don't like open scoring. I tell you why. If there's a hometown guy, especially, and in the 10th round they do the open scoring and he's up by 3, he can run around and lose the next 2 rounds and still win the fight by a point. So, nah, keep it the way it is. You don't want guys knowing. And then it takes the air out of other guys. When I remember watching, I believe it was Saul Canelo Alvarez and Austin Trout, and when they got to I think it was the 8th round or what have you, and they excuse me, I'm losing my voice. And they announced the scores. I know Austin Trout was like, are you serious? This is a close fight. You got me down by 4 or whatever it was at the time. So anyway, very entertaining fight. Bad decision. If I'm Manny Pacquiao, another thing with these foreign guys, it's like they don't know how to complain when it's time to complain. Like, well, I mean, I respect the judges and he was a tough opponent. But nah, dude, I didn't lose this fight. That's what I want to hear. I won. And but you can't force your culture on other cultures, even if those guys come over here and live for years. Bottom line is, they are how they are. But man, those forearms, those headlocks, I mean, if I'm going to give any credit to Horn, I'll give him that credit, that he came to rough the smaller guy up, the older guy up, and he did to an extent, to the point where Manny was cut on his left, above his, on his scalp on the right side, and above the eye on the left side. Horn, for his troubles, was cut also. I believe his might have been due to punches. That left hand for Manny was scoring big time, especially in that 9th round. So Manny's open to you slipped that rematch clause in there. That's they got Aram written all over it too. The Bob father. But remember, August 5th, we have Vasily Lomachenko versus Miguel Mariaga. And then August 19th, we have Terrence Crawford versus Julius Ndogo for the... I got to do a little research. I thought Manny was the WBO champion. So when they were talking about if Crawford wins, he'll be the first undisputed guy since '05 or whatever it was. I'm like, he'll have 4 belts, and I'm like, well, Manny had the WBO, so I don't know. I gotta research that, but those fights will be on ESPN, and then when bigger fights come, I'm hoping that they'll switch over to the ABC platform, and we'll see from there. Michael Conlan won. Still not impressed with him. I need to see some improvement from him. But look what was in front of him tonight. So he won by stoppage. Good body shot. And Mosley, and then you had the IBF title. That's pretty good. That was a decent fight. Decent fight, flyweight fight. They got stopped. Another body shot situation, and then got stopped on cut to the eye. Teddy Atlas twice tonight I thought was going to have a heart attack in that 9th round when Manny came on strong and almost finished it. That was Teddy. That was bananas. And then when the scores were read and Teddy was like, look, I'm not going to bite my words. I thought he was going to curse. I kind of wish he did, but he was talking about how scoring is just what it is. So anyway, hey folks, worst case scenario, guess what? At least you didn't have to pay $75 for it. You got it for free. So we'll see what the future holds for Manny. I don't think everybody said if he had hopes of a Floyd Mayweather rematch that he had to look sensational tonight. I thought he looked good, but I don't know if the Floyd Mayweather rematch would happen either way. I thought that the way that Jeff Horn answered Teddy Atlas's questions when he was in his face, I thought he kind of knew that he received a gift this evening, but guess what? He'll take it. So we'll see what the future holds for both of these guys. I really think that if Manny could get him within the next 5 to 6 months, if they went the route of the rematch, I believe that Manny would kind of change some things and start throwing some more shots down the pipe. And I think he would get Horn the second time. Of course, Horn's going to be so confident. I think Manny could set a trap and walk him into a big shot. Probably should have won by corner type stoppage or referee, like a technical decision, but he fought on and the referee allowed it and Horn won. So also the don't be shocked, Manny Pacquiao is much smaller, and I'm not talking about his stature this time. I'm talking about his body physique. He's don't be shocked if we go from hearing Pacquiao versus Crawford for all those belts to Pacquiao versus Lomachenko. I mean, boy, Manny is tiny, man. For him to get, if you ever watched the one press conference they had, which they didn't invite anyone, and even rejected some media, when you look at the press conference between, you know, Floyd is not the tallest guy in the world. He's big. He's diesel. Don't be fooled. But when him and Manny kind of walked up next to each other for like a little stare down type thing when they shook hands, man, Manny is small, man. He is tiny. Gosh, you wonder how he did it all those years. But his physique is actually smaller now than it was when he fought the Cottos, the Margaritos, the Hattons. Wouldn't be shocked if, before it's all said and done, the name Lomachenko floats around with Pacquiao. For those out there listening, if you haven't subscribed, it's absolutely free. We don't ask you for anything. I did at one point, but I'm not going that route. I did it one time. But sign up, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us at The Fight Journal on Twitter, Instagram, and go to the website www.thefightjournal.com, www.thefightjournal.com. All of our, if you enter your email address, and all of our videos, our interviews, our coverage, our articles, everything that we do will come directly to your email. You won't have to look for us. And we do have other content on our website, press releases, articles, things that don't show up on YouTube. So give us a follow. We don't hurt nobody. We're not going to bother anybody. We're just going to talk about the truth, and we're not on anybody's payroll. So I can love you one minute and hate you the next, but I'm going to call it like it is. We catch you in the next video.